Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Okay, so I got out all my eyeshadow palettes today, and I said I don't think I've ever sat down and showed you like just my whole entire eyeshadow collection. So I said I'm going to sit down today and just show you everything I have. So there is a whole bunch of them, so let's go ahead and get started, and then I'm going to tell you at the end which ones I think are worth it. Okay, the first palette I have is the Tartlet in Bloom palette. This is like an old school palette, and it's basically just warm tones, and that is the first one. I've got to go through these fast. Then I have the Jaclyn Hill palette. I love this palette. Let me open it. I can't get it open. This is what the shades look like. I want the second one so bad, but I just don't need it. And I want it though. But this is one of my top palettes. And then I have the BH Cosmetics Carli Bybel palette. This is like such a bridal palette to me. I've like used this on a couple brides now. So that is that one. Then I have the Urban Decay Electric palette. This I never, ever, ever use. I don't know why, because the shades are really vibrant. I just don't ever use it. But it's in my collection, so. And then I have this Makeup Forever Artist palette. And this is what this looks like. I have no idea why I bought this. I really don't need this palette at all in my life. But it's in my life, so we'll keep it. Then I have the Sigma Warm Neutrals palette. This is a very cute palette, and especially for this color right here. This goldish taupey brown color is so good for around like winter time. It is like worth it for that shade alone, and these blend really well, so I do like them. Let me put these down and get some more. Okay, now I'm gonna jump into my ColourPop all these palettes. You Had Me at Hello. This is just like a purpley palette with some warm tones in there for blending. And then I have the ColourPop Golden State of Mind palette. This is all metallic, and I figured these would be like all the metallics I would ever need in my life, and I would just keep them in this one palette, but it's not. I'm not a fan. They're just not that pigmented. Then I have the ColourPop Soul palette. Look how pretty that is. That is just a summer dream right there. So that's that one. And then that one came like as a set, I think. And it came with like the blue and the orange shade. So this is like the Mar palette. And then that's got like, it's kind of complementary to the other palette. And this one's good. It's got I don't like a whole lot of shimmery shades. And those have like a lot of shimmery shades. Then this one is ColourPop Cute AF. I really haven't grabbed for, oh no. It's the Yes Please palette. It says Cute AF on the front, but it's the Yes Please palette. I never grabbed this palette, and I don't know why. Look at that. That is just beauty right there. That is all the warm tones that you'll ever need in life. Wow. I forgot I had that. All right, then this is the ColourPop Double Entendre palette. This is just like a neutral palette. Again, I have so many neutral palettes. I've got to go through these fast, though, because there's a lot. Then this is the ColourPop I Think I Love You palette. When they first started making palettes, I was really obsessed. Like, I loved their eyeshadows so much. And so I was just getting everything that they were coming out with. And then I stopped doing that when I realized what I was doing. Alright, this is the Tardis Pro Palette. This was an expensive palette back then. I think it was about $50 some. But I thought this was a really good palette because it has the complementary shimmer shade to go with all the mattes on each end. I thought that was a good palette to do that with. And there's some pinks, purples. I've used this for a few tutorials, so I guess I do like it. Alright, let me put this stack down and get another one. Alright, from Anastasia, I have this weird palette. Shadow Couture World Traveler palette. I'm not sure why I bought that. It was probably on some kind of sale when I bought it. But I have it, and I never ever use it. And then, you know, when everybody went through the Modern Renaissance palette, and you can see I used it, but not that much. I wasn't a huge fan of their shadows. I thought they kind of blended out into like nothing. So I wasn't a big fan of them. And then I have the Loca Pro 1 and 2. I'll hold these up together. These were really popular, and I know why. really blend well. I really love these two palettes, especially like if I need to do a smoky eye. These they come through, especially that cool tone one. I've used them in videos before too, so I really like those. And then from Kylie, I have the burgundy palette and the bronze palette. I don't care about these palettes for some reason. I never grab them. I don't even know why. They're not bad. I don't know. It's just something about them I don't really like. So I never grab them. And then I have this Marc Jacobs palette. This is the editorial palette. Look at this thing if I can get it open. It's like a little plastic case. I used it in the one of those videos where I said I would never use these shades. And then I turned out really liking it because I had really dark hair at the time. They are really nice. Like, their eyeshadows are really nice, but I don't ever grab it because I mean, this is a winter palette right there. Like, that's some hunter greens and stuff like that. That was given to me by Influencer, and they picked, like, the worst palette for me. All right, then I have the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye palette. I tend to grab this if I'm wanting to do smoky stuff or if I need a warm tone somewhere. I tend to grab for that. But that's just like one of those basic palettes. And then I have Bad Habit Beauty sent me a bunch of palettes one time, and I really liked their palettes. They are like dupe palettes. This is the Retro Love palette. They're usually dupes for Anastasia. This is the Temptress palette. And then this is the Inferno palette. I ended up liking that one. Just because it's warm tones, warm browns. The Bad Habit Aura palette, I had a hard time with that one. I don't know if y'all remember, but I did a video with it and I was struggling just because the colors don't really go together, but it's really Anastasia that they didn't make that palette, but it was inspired by their palette, so. And then this is the Aphrodite palette. I tend to grab for not this one, the next one more. But these two are the nice ones. They're after like Huda Beauty palettes. And this is the Bad Habit Athena palette. For some reason, I tend to grab that one. Probably I like these browns and like the purple. I like this palette. Those Bad Habit palettes are pretty good dupes. They're not my favorite eyeshadows, but I do like them because they're like a little change from what I'm used to. And then I have one of my very first palettes. I think it might have been first or second palette, was the Naked 3 palette. And that is so damn boring. I'm like, what was I ever thinking? And then I have the Naked Smoky palette, and it was probably on a sale or something, and I've never ever used it, and I don't know why I have it. And then this was my first eyeshadow palette. This is the MAC Warm Neutral palette. I never used this thing. I don't know why. I mean, MAC shadows are good. There's like 1, 2 mattes, 3 mattes. I'm like, I don't have anything to work with if I have an all shimmer palette. Then this is the Violet Voss Pro palette. This is their Holy Grail palette. This was their first palette, I think. And I thought that was so pretty when it came out. It's an old school palette. It was like, when everything was coming out, and that I was just like real eager to buy stuff back then. And so that's that one. And then Too Faced, I have this Natural Matte palette. I thought it would be great to have an all matte palette that I could just grab. Well, I never use it. So that's that. Too Faced Semi-Sweet Chocolate Bar palette. Never use. Not a huge fan of Too Faced eyeshadows. They're just not all that for me. And then this is the Chocolate Bar palette. Pretty shades, just not my favorite for blending. I'm not a big fan. Alright, and then I have the Kat Von D Me Vida Loca palette. You saw me using that lately in a couple videos. Look at all those beautiful shades. That thing is nice. I like that. Okay, then I have 3 Melt stacks. These are probably the best blending shadows that I own. Melt Cosmetics. This is the Lovesick stack. I hope I've got them all in the right stacks. That's the Lovesick one. And then this one is, I think it's the Rust stack right here. You have to open them up weird. Like, they've got, it's like metal. I think this one don't go there. I'm not sure, but this is the Rust stack. I think. I might have mixed them up because they all stay together. And then I think this is the Dark Matter one. They're so hard to get apart, like, you know, in a time crunch. Okay. Let me, y'all bear with me. Okay. Please don't fall. I love you guys. So they're, the melt stacks are the best. Like, those shadows blend like a dream. Like, I mean, they melt into each other. Melt Cosmetics. Oh. So that's those. And then my last two things, I threw a couple palettes away of Morphe shadows that I just don't like. The only Morphe shadows that I like, that I've used, I haven't used James Charles's or Jeffree Star's or anybody, but really the only one I've used is Jaclyn Hill that I like. The other palettes, like the 35O, I guess I threw it away because I don't have it in here. But I'm not a big fan of Morphe shadows. Alright, these are my single shadows. When I first got into YouTube, Jaclyn Hill was like my girl that I always watched. And you know how Makeup Geek was like popping back then. And she was like recommending all these shadows and I was buying all these shadows like a freaking idiot. So this is my single shadows. There is some Makeup Geek and some ColourPop. So this is what this palette looks like. Isn't that crazy? This is my warm tone palette. I have two of these. I got these from Colored Rain. I don't even know how much this big palette was, but I had to like put them all together so I could see what I had. But that is the warm tone palette. And then this is the cool tone palette. I hope y'all don't judge me in case there might be a warm shadow in here that I didn't know was in here. But this is the cool tone palette. Isn't that crazy? It's so many single shadows. Do you know how many $1 million probably went into these things? I mean, that's so crazy. But that is all my eyeshadow palettes. So now let's talk about if I had to buy some, which ones would I buy? If I was to start over, I would probably buy the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette and her second palette. I want that one too, but I don't need another eyeshadow palette. So, I do like the melt stacks the best as far as blending goes, but I wouldn't spend that money on those now. I would probably stick with, if I had to choose, I would stick with the Morphe Jaclyn Hill 1 and 2, and then anything by ColourPop. I love ColourPop eyeshadows. They are soft and just blendable. I really like those eyeshadows. And then maybe if I needed just something basic, I might throw a Loca palette in there, like one of the Pro palettes, if you really need it. But that's probably the shades that I would use. I mean, the palettes that I would use. ColourPop, you can find every color that you need for cheap. And I'm kind of like an advocate for ColourPop eyeshadows. But that is everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.